All right, welcome everyone. Hello and welcome to our webinar on how non-technical teams use Lucid. We're excited to have everyone here today. We're expecting a pretty big group, so that's exciting. As you're filtering in, we'd love to have you hop in the chat and introduce yourselves. Let us know where you're from, and we'd love to hear what team you're on. We're going to have a wide variety of various non-technical teams, from people ops to marketing to sales, representing here today, and we would love to just see who we've got on the webinar today. So feel free to hop in the chat there and introduce yourselves. And we're just going to go over a few housekeeping items, and then we're going to jump right in. Before we get started, I do want to cover just a few housekeeping items really quickly. The most common question we get is this session being recorded? And the answer is yes. The session is being recorded. Whatever email you use to register for the event, we will send you the link to the on-demand version as soon as it's ready. So that email usually goes out tomorrow morning. Additionally, you can find your way to the landing page that you used to register. The video will also be available there. If you want it, we will make sure that you get it. So look for that in your inbox tomorrow. We want this session to be interactive also, so please ask questions. We do have quite a large group today, so we might not get to every question, but we do want to get to as many as possible. So we will be keeping an eye on the chat and the Q&A panel throughout. So please drop any questions you have in either of those channels as you have them. Finally, live captions are enabled for this webinar, so feel free to turn those on in Zoom if you'd like. All right, that's it for housekeeping. As we get into the content of this webinar, really just wanted to set the stage quickly. As many of you might know or might be familiar with, Lucid originally started out as a single product company, Lucidchart, with origins primarily in the diagramming space. What this means for us is that we have a very large and active base of technical users, like engineering and IT professionals. But over time, we've grown to really become a multi-product platform that supports visual collaboration at every stage of work, as you see in this diagram, from brainstorming and planning to diagramming and building. Most importantly, what that means now is that Lucid is not just a tool for technical teams, but for every team across the business. And so we wanted to host this webinar today to show some love to the many impactful ways that teams like people ops, marketing, sales, strategy, finance, and so many other business teams, the ways that they're using Lucidspark and Lucidchart to drive productivity, improve collaboration, and see and build the future within their company. And so our thinking is, what better way to show you that than to provide some real life use cases of how our own non-technical teams here at Lucid do the same thing. And we know that, why does this matter? We know that in the last few years, with the rise of hybrid and remote work, collaborating as a team has gotten much more complex than it ever has before. And so we want to just help make that a little bit easier and hopefully inspire you to find some new use cases for Lucid within your own workflows. Yeah, and a lot of these things that we're seeing in the chat are also things we've noticed as a company. Sharing context has gotten, really hard, especially cross-functionally. It can be hard to visualize just exactly what kind of work needs to be done. And really, it's more difficult than ever to stay aligned as a team. And so we hope to help address some of these challenges today. There are, literally hundreds of possible frameworks, activities, ways non-technical teams can use Lucid. And we wanted to make sure it's clear that we're not trying to cover them all comprehensively today. Really, what I'm most excited about is that our speakers today are going to be sharing real examples that they use every single day. And so we don't intend for this webinar to be a step-by-step product education or a training course. We do have plenty of those though. And so if you're looking for those type of resources after this webinar, you're asking yourself, all right, what next? How do I build these similar types of things for my own team? We have many examples and resources that we can share with you for HR teams, for marketing teams, for sales teams, to help you build boards and diagrams and documents exactly like this. And so please stay to the end of the webinar or ask those questions if you want additional resources during the webinar. And we have a bunch of links that we can point you to for training courses, templates, our integrations, marketplace, and more. And you can use all of those things today. So without further ado, I'm really excited to hand off to our speakers to talk through just this is just some of the use cases that we're going to be talking about today, but we have about a dozen that we're going to go over. So we're going to be talking about timelines, team syncs, how to do knowledge sharing, visualize your team, project briefs, all of this and more visually within Lucid. And so with that, I'm really excited to hand it off to our three speakers to introduce themselves and get into showing you how they are using Lucid within their own workflows. So Caleb, let's have you start and then hear from Jeff and then Brittany.
Yeah, my name is Caleb Hepler. I lead our brand creative team here at Lucid and have been doing so for the last several years. And so I lead a group of about a dozen people on our brand creative team. It sits within marketing, and I'll get more into what we do, but I just want to call out as we go through this webinar, I'm going to be talking about more high-level things, how we get on the same page, how we clarify roles, how we work together as a team and with other teams. So definitely stick around. A lot of fun content that I'm excited to share with all of you. So with that, I'll pass it over to Jeff.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm Jeff. I run our services business here at Lucid. That comprises of customer education, or our learning services team, our consulting team, and then our implementation teams. And we support our customers maximize the value potential of what the suite can deliver for them. And so, yeah, I'm thrilled. I'll talk a little bit more, as like Caleb said, about some of our use cases. But to give you a sense, I'm going to talk quite a bit about, we're in the knowledge economy as a services organization. We're trying to help other people get as much knowledge and understand how to use the product, help them reach their objectives as a business. And so there's a lot that we do to make sure that we've got clear communication, clear understanding, clarified processes, things along those lines. And so you'll see a lot of that when I get in my section. So, but Britt, with all these HR people here today, the MVP, Brittany Call.
They're here for you. Take it away.
Because everybody's like, oh, you want what I want more in my life? HR. I do. I love HR. Okay, so quickly to introduce myself, my name is Brittany Call. I'm VP of People Operations here at Lucid. I'm going to dive right in if you guys don't mind, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, some use cases that I've used the product for. If you follow me on LinkedIn, please, if you don't, please do. But I love talking about Lucid, how it really is kind of my superpower. I can't imagine being without the product. I used it before I came to Lucid, and I've been definitely using it, for the last 5 years that I've been here at Lucid. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And let me kind of take you first on a little bit of a journey. And so you can see here on the screen, I'm showing you an org chart. Back in 2018 is when I joined the company. Lucid was just over 300 employees. 2019, we hired a couple of more folks to be on the core people operations team. Of course, this isn't, including recruiting or L&D, but I'm kind of, just showing my world. But we were a fairly small, but, mighty team. Fast forward a little bit though, we were given some pretty audacious goals, by the company. We were asked, to grow the company to well over 1,000 employees. We were asked to open up 2 international offices. We wanted to go deep on comp and benefits as well as equity programs so we could, recruit and retain our amazing employees. There's also this thing called the pandemic. HR people, I feel for you, it was really hard for our side of the house. But shifting, to a remote work environment, and then after the fact, really opening things up to be a hybrid friendly work environment. So Lucid now, I think we have opened up to, it's either 30 or 31 states here in the US where we do allow people to work from. So that was a big, undertaking for my team. Of course, increasing diversity. Part of that was also, developing a really extensive immigration program, implementing systems. We'll talk more about that. And then really continuing to be a great company to work for. And so as you can imagine, I was having lots of conversations about, hey, these are the resources my team will need in order to tackle, all of these big goals that we have as a company. And so also really communicating with people. And I think this is kind of applicable to, and Caleb, Jeff, chime in, but I think that a lot of times when we are, advocating for headcount or for resources in particular, a lot of times we are kind of, talking to people who aren't, in our sphere of expertise. So when I'm talking about hey, we really need to bring on a full-time compensation professional, there is a lot of questions of hey, what why? Can't you just keep doing that, Britt? Like, comp, like, why would you need somebody else to help with this? So being able to articulate our needs to people who, aren't, HR practitioners or, in Caleb's world, marketing practitioners, like, it's really, really important. So as I was preparing for this, like, I was going back through my documents, and I think, here's an example from, kind of us getting ready for 2020, 2021. And when I really was talking to senior leadership about, hey, here are some additional programs that we want to bring on. Here is where, when we would actually time those things out as a business. So this is when I could actually, have, these programs come online. And then here are the different, headcount resources that we would need to add to the team in order to meet those objectives. And so really being able to kind of line this out in a way that linearly showed, hey, this is when we will need these key roles and this is what they will do, like, really helped me sell the business on why we needed those resources. And then go ahead.
This is awesome, Britt. Like these kind of visuals like really help sell these business cases. We actually recently worked with a customer as well that very similar process, but we were looking across like their big IT projects and doing something very similar and utilizing timelines like this, but also utilizing the intelligent diagramming features that Lucidchart has to calculate the size of those efforts and move them across like different areas, and help their CFO see like this is the level of depth that of like thinking and analysis and preparation to really make that call of like, we need these people for these reasons, and here's the impact. You really start speaking the broader language of the business to get the help that you need.
Exactly. Like how can I align like the things that I need, directly with what it is that, the business outcomes that we were trying to achieve. And even then, like, hey, how do I step into this like over time? Like, of course, I'm not going to hire 20 HR people today. That would be impractical. But how can I kind of, step into this over time so that we can meet those objectives? And so you can kind of see here, like I have conditional formatting. I've actually pulled in all of this data from our HRIS system. Like our org chart planning tool is fantastic. But you can kind of see like, okay, here are the folks that we hired in 2020. And then of course, 2021, this was a huge inflection point for our team. Like, we hired a lot of people, but it was also, again, because we knew that we were gearing up in order to cross over that 1,000-person line. And then once again, expanding internationally, like a lot of complexity to manage. Another kind of interesting use case, and I would say that this next diagram that I'm going to show is probably one of my most used ones, and it's always surprising to me like how often it comes up in conversations and how much I use it. But when we talk about like our systems landscape, so I have a link here. I can actually click over here. But this was another really, really big thing that I had to sell the business on was like, hey, in order for us to grow as a business, like we need to have, HR system that will really drive information as it's kind of disseminating across the organization. And so this was kind of my historical state map. Back in 2020, this is how I was, it was current for me at that time. But as I was talking, to the CEO, as I was talking to the head of finance and other different business units, like I really was kind of painting the picture of, hey, I have, an HR system that isn't connecting in automatically to all of these other systems. So everything here in red is where my team is spending time, doing duplicate data entry into all of these other systems. And go for it.
Well, no, I was just going to say, a lot of folks are hoping that you can zoom in a little bit. I will call for everybody that's on the call. These are not mock documents. These are like actual working documents for us. So there's going to be some that we're not going to be super comfortable zooming in on. But Britt, as much as you're comfortable to zoom in on.
I will zoom in a little bit. And not to disparage, our previous HR system. It was fantastic. It got us to where we were. The other thing that I would say is my team was excellent at managing all of this information. Like we had audits upon audits, to make sure that all of the data across all of the systems was accurate. Because if you really think about it, we're handling like some of the company's most sensitive information. This is information on, everybody's, personal info, as well as like their benefits elections and those types of things, payroll. So we did a really good job of maintaining this, but really, like, my goal was to kind of paint a picture of like, hey, if we move to, you can see we moved to Workday. If we move to Workday, then we really are going to be able to, automate a lot of this work. And not only will that cut down on, the time that my team is spending in entering this information to all these different systems, but it's also going to help us ensure that we are keeping this data, secure and accurate over time. The other thing, again, this was such a great visual for me because like it really, allowed me to communicate like all of the work that my team was doing. Whereas if I was to just show up to a meeting and say, oh, this is heavy, like they're doing a lot of data entry, like I don't know that they would have realized, how much was going on and how much effort was going into keeping everything, going and the lights kind of on. As part of that transition, like we were also to kind of able to talk about headcount. So if I kind of go over here, well, and actually here, let me turn this on here. It allowed me to advocate for an HRIS manager. So I needed somebody to help, implement Workday, as well as manage it going forward. And then we also said, hey, we need to keep existing processes going. So I'm going to hire 3 temps to continue, with all of that data entry, while my core team is able to focus on, building out that new system. And again, I don't know that I would have been able to advocate for that support or for that system if I wasn't able to kind of visualize and show everybody the challenges that we had. So kind of cool. Anyway, I know I'm taking a lot of time. I guess I can kind of zoom forward. Let me pull off this conditional formatting so we can see everybody. Kind of zooming out, if we look at the team today, you can see that we've pulled workplace experience, under my org, we've added just a couple of more heads to the team, but really we are in such a good place. Like we can still, continue to scale the company, like we can stay at our existing size, but I really have an excellent org design built out so that we can really tackle, anything that's thrown our way. The other thing that I was just going to touch on really quickly is how we use the product for all of our initiatives and planning. And so if I kind of zoom into this link over here, you can see like I love Lucid's ability to kind of help us plan out timelines. So this is just a quick snapshot of our last 3 quarters of the year. You can see that we have, when company emails or Slack messages are going to go out. You can see who's hosting stand-up, all the way down to like when are we launching performance reviews for the different groups, when are we going to be updating all of our comp ranges, those types of things. And so I know somebody kind of mentioned a big challenge in the chat when we started this call is really being able to communicate across silos and across the organization. Like we will use this a lot in our conversations with other business leaders just to make sure that the timelines work for everybody. Especially in my role where we are running programs that work across the entire business, it's really important that we keep in mind like, oh, there's a board meeting that week. The execs are going to be busy. Or, oh, you want to what? That's the end of quarter. Like, yeah, let's not launch a program there. Like sales is going to be very busy. So this is just kind of one of the many ways that we use the product to kind of collaborate and plan out all of our work. And it's really kind of cool. Okay. That's my stuff.
I was just going to remark on this. Yeah, Brittany, I was going to remark on this. People are asking, oh, is there a timeline for this? And I think it's amazing. Like, this is literally just our timeline feature, just built out and adding your stuff. Yeah.
Like, I can go in and add things to this.
Yeah. I was also going to say, I love seeing how you use org charts to advocate for adding to your team. I've done that too, saying, hey, we're thinking about adding this person or this person, growing the team this way or that. Yours are like way more involved and in depth, which is awesome to see, but same kind of concept, like how do we just kind of pitch, hey, this is where we need to grow if we're going to accomplish A, B, C, and D. So that's awesome.
Well, and it's kind of interesting because you think like every, I shouldn't say every, but most HR systems have a built-in org chart. But it's not meant for planning. Like it's as things are today. Like you can't go in and, plan things out. I remember at the beginning of my career, before all of this, like we were still using PowerPoint, with everybody's pictures and trying to move things around. And like, this is so great because you can have multiple people jump in and collaborate on things. Also, shout out for the conditional formatting. It's amazing. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
Conditional formatting, and I was also going to say, like, adding layers, because if you're doing different designs, like you can add an additional layer to layer on like other parts of the organization. Like, this is what it might look like if we were to expand in this area, or just using separate pages. So like, here's my status quo, like here's where we're at today, but then here's like the future state I want to get to at some point, so you can quickly kind of migrate between those things. Yeah,
no, definitely love it. Conditional formatting or org charts, like from a compensation perspective, like, hey, show everybody who is now below their range. Like, it's really, really cool, like the ways in which you can kind of visualize like your people and your data that you have underlying.
That's great. All right, well, I think I'm up next. Is that right?
Yes.
Take it away, Jeff.
Should I get after? All right, now I'm always nervous when there's multiple of us sharing screens. So let me make sure I'm sharing the right stuff and not like giving everybody my social security number. Let's see. Okay. I think maybe we're good. Hopefully we're good. All right, cool. Let me slide this over to the side so that I've got all the things I need. So like I said before, I run our services business here at Lucid. I love what we do. And as a services organization, we're kind of in that knowledge economy space, right? There's a lot that goes into how do we disseminate information? How do we best capture information? How do we best learn from each other, learn how to help our customers get the most out of our product? Things along those lines. So I'm going to share a few examples that dive into some of the specifics that we're doing on a daily basis. As a professional services group, one of the areas where we're constantly listening to our customers is trying to identify where we may need to add to our service catalog and bring additional services to the forefront to help them maximize the value of what they're getting out of the product. We want to be really smart about this. We don't want to overload our catalog, because then you get sales reps that don't know what to talk to customers about, or CSMs that are very lost in the weeds. We want to make sure that everything's intentional. And so that means that we've got to do some pretty thorough discovery and experimentation before we commit to a path of bringing a new service to market. And so this is an example of our service discovery process. We have this templatized, so anybody on the team can pick this up and start working through their ideas of potential new service that we may want to offer. And it takes the team through a few specific steps. So the first thing that we want to do anytime this opportunity comes up is we want to understand what the opportunity is. Either we're hearing things from our customers that they would like some additional help in certain areas, or maybe we've released new functionality that we want to exploit a little bit more thoroughly, and we have some really interesting ideas of how certain types of customers, certain organizations might leverage that, and we want to help build that out. We'll initially come in, we'll do a lean canvas together. The team will kind of hammer on this as a group. You'll see the different color stickies on here that show where different people have kind of collaborated to add value to this. And we really try to break down some of the specifics of what do we know today, so that we can then kind of continue moving forward and build out what we need to. After we've understood the opportunity, then we want to really lean in and understand the customers. So this is, kind of a persona type that we've pulled in that might be one of our key personas. We write down everything we know about that persona based off of our experience to date. We talk through like, hey, who are other people that we could test with? I've retracted details on these names, but like, some of these are customer names. Some of these are other internal Lucidites, our Lucid family, that we might reach out to and engage with to better understand what they know about those particular needs that may be out there. And again, we can continue to break that down, understand who our customers may be and what the things that they may need. And then we use the same document to like capture all that data and all that rich insight that we grab, right? So this is kind of bulked around a few specific questions that we were working through with this group. This document's specific to our creative facilitation coaching service. So again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, like these are live documents. This is the one that we actually built in preparation for that. And so we come in, we capture all that information as best as we can, and then we start, as part of our process, understanding, okay, what do we now need to go test and learn? Like, what are the critical assumptions between us and actually launching this service that we need to answer, that we need to have clarity on before we want to commit to move forward? We do that critical assumptions analysis. We decide, hey, what experiments are we going to run? What are we going to build? How are we going to learn from those? And that's kind of how we walk through the process. Again, this is templatized, so like anybody on my team can pick it up and they can follow through the steps. and get to something great. And the other thing that's really nice is, depending on the service, especially if it's something that's a little bit more that the team's not super familiar with, we'll throw a diagram in here that walks through like the specifics of how to get after it. And now with our universal canvas, it's awesome because we can have people collaborating and doing sticky notes on other sides of the board, and then we can have somebody coming in and as they're talking about stuff, actively like add to the process really quickly that like, hey, say like at this step, we want to add in an additional data flow, and like just come in real quick. And this is adding on real time on both sides of regardless of which product the team is in, and they're all seeing it within the same canvas. So like we love this kind of a thing. This is one example. We do this sort of a thing very regularly, whether it's for ideation and discovery processes, things along those lines to drive value. So that's the first one. And eventually that document gets replaced with like more formal documents, everything else. So that's where we do a lot of our ideation and engagement. Another thing I wanted to highlight, and this is something that we use Lucid for all the stinking time, is doing really interactive and engaging presentations. Certainly, we absolutely do those with our customers and in how we bring them into the product and give them experiences, but we also use it for our own wildly engaging knowledge sharing sessions. So like as leaders, as we're trying to impart new information to the team, as they're sharing amongst each other best practices, we do this all the time. This is, I was looking for like a really saccharine, non-proprietary one that I could bring to the table. And actually the last session that we ran around career management with the team is pretty great. And so I thought I would pull this one in as a quick example. You may look at this and say, oh, okay, I see what you've done. You've pulled slides and you've put them into Lucid, which that's the starting point. That is true. But what makes this really an engaging way to run through presentations, knowledge sharing, everything else is, first and foremost, if you haven't tried out visual activities in the product yet, like you're 100% missing out. VAs are a great way to engage the team, like in getting insights from them as you're working through a presentation, as you're walking through like one of these knowledge sharing sessions, to get a sense of where they might be from the outset, to understand their outcomes. So like I'm the only one that's in the board right now, so you're only seeing my result here. But as you can imagine, as more people participate in this visual activity, you start to see all of their different markers like pop up on this, and you can know before you even really get started, where is the team? Like, what is the status quo? Like, how are they feeling about this topic? How comfortable do they feel about this new process that we're implementing? Things along those lines. Or just, sometimes it's also just a great icebreaker, to be candid. Like, it's really fun to sometimes build out these great VAs that get people excited and get them into the mood to work together. But yeah, as we go through this, certainly we cover things, and it seems, there's a little bit of the one directional conversation, and whoever's presenting can actually come in, utilize our paths functionality, walk through things like slides, which is great. But for the rest of us that are not necessarily doing the presentation, like we may be pulled back, we might be reading ahead, going in, and like all of these GIFs, these sticky notes that are kind of off to the side, those are added by other people that are engaged. And so getting them to participate, getting them to share their thoughts, their passion, their interest, and also have this as a living document after the session. Like, it's a great artifact that they can go back to and be like, hey, I remember we had that really great session on career development. Jeff was talking about this thing, and I thought it was notionally smart, like he's okay. And so, but what was that detail? Like, they can go back in and they can see not just the slides, like the static thing, but they can see how everybody else contributed to the conversation and have that kind of memory device there, which is awesome. So we absolutely love to do this. And again, like we do this with our customers as well, but certainly internally, just within our own team, we're constantly kind of diving in on how we can better learn from each other. So that's that one.
I love it. Really quick, Jeff, I was going to ask, because I've seen other teams do this a lot. My team will do it every once in a while. Like, we'll embed videos like in a Lucidchart as well, or Lucidspark, just so that people can, like, they'll voice over and be like, hey, this is what you're looking at. If you click through the path, like, you can see this is what's going on. So that's like another way that you can kind of collaborate asynchronously, like across like your different groups. I know for us, it's really great with like time zone differences.
Yeah, I don't have a great example of this that to share today, but like when we build templates for customers, we actually do that same thing. Is like we'll have kind of a walkthrough using sticky notes or shapes on the template that's like, here's how to use the template. But then our consultants will often actually also record a video of them utilizing the template to show here's how this can be used, so that people can start getting value from it very, very quickly and like really shorten that learning curve. So that's awesome. That's a great example, Brett.
Yeah.
Another way that we use Lucid very regularly is we try to standardize our processes and customer experiences. You know, as a services organization, the more that we can standardize things so that new folks coming in can have the best tools at their disposal to help our customers be successful. The more we do that, the better. And also when we can standardize things a degree, we can also better sense from our customers what's working and what's not working, and kind of go from there. The most simple example of that here is this is a really quick process document that from our learning experience design team. This is their workflow for how they develop new content that goes up on training.lucid.co. So for those who don't know, we have amazing on-demand content for anybody that's licensed in the product, where you can go in and learn how to utilize both Lucidchart, Lucidspark, as well as Lucid Scale, and get into varying degrees of depth in what the product can do for you. Our products are intuitive and easy to use, but as you can see, there's a lot of stuff under the covers that sometimes it's a little hard to just self-identify. And so those training materials are amazing. And as they do that, like, the leader of the team, she's come in, she's mapped out the entire process here. So anytime we add somebody to the team, or anytime we're trying to make sure that we're on point, like the team can come in here, they can understand where they are in the process, they can understand what's coming up next, they can take some of this stuff and timeline it as well, and really get to some great value. So this is also helpful for whenever, whenever the like really cranky head of services comes into play and says, hey, training team, I need you to move faster on this. The team can go in and they can look and say like, okay, well, which parts of these paths are like really critical? Which ones could we maybe skip this round? Or how do we drive improvements to certain areas that may be taking us more time than others, and continue to iterate on this. We do the same thing for a lot of our customer facing engagements, like the process for how we engage customers. And we see a ton of value in that, in upskilling our people, onboarding them quickly, but then also making sure that we're continuously improving over time, which is like, to me, is the most important thing.
And Jeff, I was going to jump in on this one because I think showing this kind of flow of like creating an asset or creating material is like speaking my language, because we're on the side of things where somebody might come to us and say, well, just make the video, just make the training thing. Like it shouldn't be that hard. And you can just show like, no, there's a lot more to it than you think. Right. And that visual artifact is just so helpful for that. I think it's a great example.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. This next one kind of fits in a similar space. It's again helping our teams be the best that they can be. I love this document. This one's going to look really messy. I'll zoom into parts of this to help the audience like kind of see what's going on. But I mentioned that we use our product a ton to have engaging interaction with our customers. This right here, I'm going to zoom out just real quick. Don't get mad at me. This right here is like essentially the process that we take our customers through when they initially purchase the product and we go to implement them successfully, right? What you can see in here is we've got a great visual activity that we want to put customers in to better understand what's going on. But like all these bigger notes that are kind of floating around is actually coaching and teaching the people on my team how to run this process as effectively as possible, to help them be really successful in that engagement. So we use this as like, this is both a template for that kickoff that we do and an educational resource. And then anytime that we're driving improvement into the process and we want to make a change because we've got an SME on the teams like, hey, like I found a really great way to have this particular conversation. And I think if we made this structured change, they can come into the template, they can make that change, and they can add sticky notes, they can add call outs, anything else to help educate the rest of the team. So the next time somebody else picks up this document to go run that same engagement, they have all of that there. They have all that context. As Britt mentioned before, if somebody wants to add a video to explain why they did something and they changed the template, like it's great, and it all exists in a single place. And so again, this allows us to, one, like standardize how our team engages with customers, two, up level them and get them to a better place, and three, at the end of the day, like once we've gone in, made the tweaks that we need to make for that kickoff meeting that we're going to hold, have a really engaging, awesome conversation where it's a bi-directional engagement on like, hey, here are the things that we at Lucid care about as part of your implementation. What are the things that you care about, so that we can get that mapped into our plans and understand like what technologies they're using, what integrations do we need to get into play, everything else, and then eventually, bake that into a Kanban or a timeline, so that we can create really strong clarity of what the process is going to look like and how we're going to get people. So that's probably the most that I want. I did have one other thing, but I want to get to Caleb's, because Caleb's stuff is like rocking. But my last kind of word to say on this is, having these documents is great, but also leveraging them as templates so that you can repeat these processes over and over again is something that for me and my business, and I'm sure for many of the people on the call, is like wildly helpful. Awesome.
Hey.
Caleb, you're up.
I'll jump in, and I'll give a little bit more context as to my role and what I do. So again, I lead our brand creative team. And so think of all like the advertisements, the marketing, collateral, sales assets, anything that embodies the look and feel of who we are as a company. That's what my team cares about. And so we have, designers, graphic designers, UX, UI designers who work on our website, videographers, motion designers, all these various people who contribute to that work. But I'm going to share things with you all that are challenges that I faced as a leader and as a manager, as somebody who's been part of a team, that are beyond just, the creative type of work. So definitely lean in here and stay with me. I think these are going to be really relevant, no matter what type of team, what size of team you're on. So the first thing I want to dive into, and Jeff and Brittany, they don't deal with this problem whatsoever, but how do I get my team on the same page is a challenge that I faced as a manager. And I'm guessing many of you have felt that as well, just based on the comments in the chat. And so we were running into a place where, despite, talking to each other all the time, working with each other, there were still places where we were just not aligning. We weren't on the same page in terms of how we should work and where there's crossover between us and all that kind of stuff. So a few ways that we've really tried to overcome that are through Lucid, and I'll share those with you. First and foremost, this is our team space. And I saw some of you were mentioning, hey, you're starting to dig into team spaces. They're excellent. It is really just a digital, area where we can be a team and engage as a team. And so what this looks like is we meet as a large group every Monday, and I usually start things off by just saying, hey, what'd you do this weekend? And we have, this gallery where people can just drop a picture of like, this is what I did. Sometimes we'll do activities in here. And for me, this is really accomplishing that thing of like getting people to engage. First and foremost, like that is the first barrier, I think, to getting people on the same page, just generally with our work and projects. So that's like one way in which I really just try to encourage everybody to get together and align. And so beyond, that camaraderie, that morale, and doing stuff like that, our team space is really a place for us to coordinate work, right? To jump into a variety of different documents, whether it's Lucidspark or Lucidchart documents, you can jump into them right here. Maybe it's a project that's on the horizon or a session that we're going to have later. So we coordinate work like that. And it's also a place where we share ongoing resources, right, that help us align as a group. So this is our filing cabinet of resources that I want to share with you. And I'm going to jump into this one right here. And
Caleb, as you do that,
yeah.
I didn't go through team spaces on mine because I knew you were going to cover it in a little bit more detail, but I just want to +1 retweet, like whatever the verb is there, what you're saying about that, because like the ability to have just everything in a single place, the team knows where to go, they can collaborate on the fun stuff as well as the work related stuff. The other thing about the team spaces that is awesome is it doesn't like, I have team spaces for my functional team, like org chart wise, there you go, Brett. Like in my org chart, I've got one for my team, but we also spin up team spaces for projects that we're working on. And then like all the project documentation's in the same place. Like those teams that are maybe not long lasting, like they can still have a really good experience and collaborate in a very meaningful way through 100%. The new function here. And it's awesome.
It's so helpful for that. I think team spaces are one of the key ways of getting everybody on the same page. That's a great interjection, Jeff. So kind of getting back to thinking about our team specifically. So my group of 12 people, right, that has an upline to me, how do I get that group working together really seamlessly? And we were running into an area where our team was, we have all these different functions and roles, and there was a lot of ambiguity around, well, how does that relate to this other role? How does that relate? Like, where's there's crossover? I don't want to step on toes or, do something I'm not supposed to do. And so we really simply put together this visual reference point, which just says, if you're in this role, or part of this team, this is kind of what we expect of you. And these are your skill sets, right? Let's just go ahead and name that and have it in a place where we can look at it. And then beyond that, making it more interactive and saying, if you're part of this team, let's say you're on the video and motion team, well, this is what we would expect in terms of overlap with the content team, people who are writing things, right? And again, it's just a helpful way for us to really have a solid discussion and conversation about how we want to interact with others, what that overlap and alignment is, and where there's ownership too. So that's one example in this Lucidchart document. Another one is just around projects. Again, thinking about a specific team, our group of people. This is an example of one where this is a type of project where almost every single function on my team is involved in some way, shape, or form. So super, super collaborative. And with that comes a lot of complexity of like, well, how should we work together? And where does somebody interject this and that? And so what we did was we just really created a high-level map of what this type of project was. And then beyond that, added, visual reference points to kind of say, hey, at this stage of the project, we expect this team, like, bring this item. We expect this team to bring this item. This is what you contribute. This is how this works. And this isn't like a really detailed process map where we're just kind of going through step by step by step, like some of the things that are really awesome and good. What this is for us a visual artifact, like a reference point for us to say, it seems like we're running into issues like here. Like, what do we need to do to discuss that as a team and figure out how to move forward more smoothly? And so for that reason, that's been a great way for us to we can talk about where we are in the process in ways that we otherwise were having a hard time deciphering as a group. So that's just a few examples of how we use Lucid to really get on the same page as a team. And I would love to stop there. If we were just working as a siloed group, we never had to interact with anybody else. Just as a brand creative team, we just do our. That's not the case, and I'm sure that's not the case for all of you as well. We, like so many people, work with other teams on a variety of projects. So how do I get my team to partner on to get on the same page with other teams and get on the same page with them on other projects? And so this was a problem for us as well. And I'm going to share another document with you here. This is our project brief, and I will zoom in here in a minute. But basically what was happening is, let's say, Jeff, he comes to our team and says, hey, we want to partner with you on a certain project. We need Brain Creative's help in creating this asset. Or Brittany comes and said, we need help creating this HR asset. Previously, what would happen is, not Jeff or Brittany, but just using them as an example, they might send us a very long text document of all the context and information, which is
we would never do this.
Of course not. Maybe you would send a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know.
Probably would get a PowerPoint.
But we would get these super long documents of here's the information, here's the context. And as a team that's executing, we need that context and information, but it was falling short. We were still crossing paths. Things were inefficient when we were working on things. So we moved all of that into Lucidspark. So our project briefs for us are really critical in gathering that context and information from another team and understanding it for ourselves. So we were talking a little bit about this. We embed videos, just kind of saying, hey, if you're a stakeholder, if you're asking us for something, here's what we want you to do with this board, right? It walks them through this. We've set this up as a template so we can do this for every project that comes in. And here, it's pretty straightforward. Some sticky notes and text just for basic information. But where things really take off is when we say, okay, show us what you're talking about, right? And that's where it really starts to click. And again, it's just this concept, super simple. But when we're looking as two separate teams at the same problem together, That's what makes a huge difference in terms of like that alignment understanding. If we can see the issue, if we can see what we're trying to accomplish through the same lens, everything else is going to move so much more efficiently after that. So this is an example of, a digital marketing team saying, hey, we need new video advertisements to run on YouTube. Okay. And so this is like, we prompted them, let us know like what's working well, what's not. Add images, add links, add numbers, all that kind of stuff. And so by doing that, we were able to look at where we currently were and really have a strong understanding of where we wanted to go. Beyond that, staying on the same page with other teams, we don't stop there with the brief. We make sure that as we're brainstorming, we bring those stakeholders along with us so that they can contribute and see where things are going. And so not just with the initial brainstorm, but as we develop those ideas, right? And for us, this is an advertisement. You might not be in that place, but this could be any sort of deliverable or thing that you're working on. We bring people along for that ride, and Lucidspark is great for that. To be able to plop somebody in here and say, here's what we're exploring. Here's our mood board. And it's a place for them along the process of the project to be able to add notes, give reactions, give input and insight that we otherwise wouldn't have if we just waited till the very end and then, said, here's what we got. And then we'd say, oh, it's all wrong, right? So you can kind of see the evolution here as we kind of went from those ideas to figuring out what our look and feel was going to be, and then the final still frames for the video that we animated as an ad. So last challenge that I faced is, how do I foster creativity and problem solving? And again, some of you might be thinking, well, I'm not on a creative team. I don't do designy things. I would still advocate that you are creative in some way, shape, or form, in that you are trying to solve problems. You're trying to innovate and figure things out in ways that haven't been discovered yet. And that takes creativity. So ours is an expression through brand and imagery and visuals. Yours would look different, I would imagine, if you're not on that type of team. But I think the principle is still the same. I think this is even in that initial questions like, of what's a challenge. And it's like this fact that ideas seem to just kind of, spread out into the ether, and you can never really capture them again. And so that was the issue for our team. We were wanting to be more innovative, to be more creative, to solve problems. But it would be like a quick message and like, this is a great idea, and then nothing would happen to it. Or it'd just be a discussion in the hallway. Like, that's a great idea. Nothing would happen to it. And the result was that we just were not pushing the envelope, innovating and creating to the degree that I think we needed to. And so to me, again, that was a really quick cue to just say, let's move things into Lucidspark. Let's visualize our innovation and actually see it take shape. And so this is something we do called creative jam sessions, where we basically once a month get together as a larger brain creative team and social media and content. And it's a really simple thing where we've got these frames here. A lot of you have been kind of asking like, well, how do you build this? Frames are great just to structure your board and how you want things to go. Where we walk through, okay, this is the process. This is, if you're new to this is kind of how ideas go through. Usually I'll do an icebreaker. Jeff, you hit on this a little bit, but these visual activities are a fantastic and quick way to get people engaged quickly. So, this one is an example of like, which insurance personality are you most, would you most want to have lunch with or whatever. I'm going to put the duck way low. Sorry if you work for Aflac, but I don't think that would be a good lunch. So again, you can just kind of see it's really fun and an easy way to get people talking and start to engage in a way where they are feeling okay with sharing an idea, even if it's going to fall flat. They're communicating, they're engaging, they're leaning in. And I think visual activities are fantastic for that. So that's one way that we'll start. And then we just start jumping into, what types of ideas are out there? What have you been thinking about? And instead of just like, shooting a message, drop something into this board so we can riff with you and ideate and concept. So that could be anything like really big, like what if we plastered a subway station with sticky notes, right, as an advertisement, to practical things of, I'm working on, incorporating interns into our social media, and I'm running into this issue. Can somebody kind of help me and think through this? All sorts of ways in which we can drop ideas and get engagement from the team to push creativity and innovation. And here's the thing, beyond that, beyond just sharing the idea, we also take time and document what are we actually doing with those ideas. So they don't just stay there as a brainstorm, they move into action. And so we have a place where we're also visualizing, okay, remember that idea from a month ago, that so-and-so shared? Here's where that's at right now. Isn't this awesome? And here's the results that we're having from that. And so this has been a huge thing, especially for our team, engaging on social media and pushing brand there is a huge thing. So, some of the ideas that have happened there have led to really great results. We just hit 1 million views on TikTok from this cow video, which has been pretty wild and fun.
Which is probably my favorite video you've ever done, Caleb. It's amazing.
I'm glad you like that one. So that's been fun for us. TikTok's new. There's fun things that we're doing here. I mean, our product's amazing, so we have a really, really fun time with it. But circling back to all this stuff, the impact has been that through these challenges that we've had, using Lucid has helped our team get on the same page. It's helped us get on the same page with other teams that we're working with, and it's really helped us create this culture of creativity and problem solving. And the end result is that we're doing higher quality work at a more efficient rate than we were before, which is just, it's just been awesome to see. We want to do awesome work, and I'm sure all of you are the same way. So anyway, I've been going on for a while. Happy to field any last minute questions, or if Jeff or Brittany or anybody from the chat had a really good one. But otherwise, I'll pass it over to Seth.
Well, we love the engagement for everyone, and hope that this has been useful as a piece of inspo into what's possible. We know that, as we can see, we know that you likely have a lot of questions about how do I do these types of things specifically, and want that in-depth product knowledge. And so we hope that we can share some resources now to help you do that. But between these resources that we're going to share and reaching out to our presenters, if there's any questions that you have that aren't answered by that, please let us know. You can always email our team at help@lucid.co or webinars@lucid.co about any questions that you have related to the content of the webinar. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find someone who knows the answer for you. So with that, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to our speakers again, Brittany, Caleb, Jeff. This was awesome. Any last words from any one of you to send people off today?
I just want to tell everybody thank you. And I think too, it seems like people are excited. And I think once you actually get into it, start with a template or something like that, you'll find all the ways that you can make it yours. So thanks everybody for attending. It's been awesome.
It's great to see everybody. And I'll just say major shout out to Caleb in the chat. He's doing all this from the airport.
I know. Show them where you're at.
Did anybody know Caleb?
Talk about collaborating from anywhere.
Flying Portland to Austin. So we'll see you all soon. I got to jump on a flight.
And thank you to our amazing marketing team. Seth, Kira, Lauren, couldn't do this without you. You guys are awesome.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
See y'all. Bye.